Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Today we're catching up on viewer questions, squash bugs, bamboo, and much more. It's the Q&A show, just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Every week we get a lot of viewer questions. We answer all of them here on set, but we only have a half hour on TV, so we can't air them all. It's time to catch up on our question backlog. First up today, squash bugs. How do you get rid of squash bugs? They're all over my pumpkins. And listen to this, Mr. D. I don't want to use chemicals. And this is from Alan. So, he takes the glasses off, Mr. D. You know what that means.
Yeah.
Painful.
I'm putting them back on. Alan, if you don't want to use chemical pesticides to control squash bugs, I'd say you're going to be pretty busy because you need to get out there and catch them all and squish them, and that's going to be really, really hard to do.
Got the scalp.
Really, really hard to do.
Oh, man.
I try and get the big boot out.
The big boot out and knock them out.
If you get tired of that,
all right.
if you go to the Red Book, you tease Red Book. There are only squash bugs are not easy to kill, even with the best pesticides that we have out there. They're big, they're strong flyers. If you kill all of them in your landscape, you may have a whole new crew that comes in, tomorrow because they can fly,
and they'll fill the void.
Long distances. But bifenthrin, zeta cypermethrin, S-phenvalerate, and permethrin, and again, follow the label. Wait at least 7 days between each application with the bifenthrin, zeta cypermethrin, and S-phenvalerate, and then do not apply more than 8 times, the permethrin more than 8 times per season.
Wow.
And that might give you some control.
Might.
Yeah.
Might.
Yeah. They're hard to control. Squash bugs, stink bugs, leaf-footed bugs. They're big, powerful bugs, and they're 2 bricks, but watch your thumbs. Watch your thumbs.
Knock them out, or get the big boot out, right?
Get the big boot.
The big boot.
So there you have it, Mr. Allen. Good luck. Good luck. Our Japanese maple has a lot of brown curled up leaves, so I have been giving it extra water at the trunk. Is there anything else I should be doing? And this is from Stacy right here in Memphis. So let's take a look at that for a second. Anything else you think? What do you think that may have caused that?
The first thing that comes to my head, I'm kind of along the same lines as she was, is that we're maybe needing some more water. Maybe it's, we've had some super hot temperatures, not the past week or so, but, earlier in the summer we did. And maybe, that plant was just losing moisture faster than it could take it up. So supplementing with water, I don't see how that could be a bad thing. But, I mean, there's some other questions that I would like to throw out there. Could it be like herbicide sensitivity? Are they treating their lawn with broadleaf, weed chemicals? That could cause some foliar burn. Are there any, girdling roots? Sometimes Japanese maples are bad about, and you can even see them like right at the surface where they're just going right around the main trunk where it flares there at the ground. Maybe one of those main roots is cutting off the vascular system, and not letting the water go up. So maybe no matter how much she waters, maybe it won't help until they take care of that root. So I would say just maybe some further investigation. You got any good hunches?
What I thought about was this, because I actually have a couple of Japanese maples at home. One is in full sun. The one that's in full sun, the leaves are brown and curled. Direct sunlight and heat, first thing that comes to my mind. Okay. The third thing is this: if the foliage actually gets wet, has water droplets on it, and it's in direct sunlight, that can cause browning as well.
Good thought. So maybe she needs to make sure, well, she did say she was watering at the trunk.
She said she was watering at the trunk.
Make sure that it's not like an area of the landscape maybe that's getting like automated water or something that's getting on the leaves. That's it. I need
because
to
you have that
about
water droplet going there. You have sunlight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like a magnifying glass,
Sure
right?
is.
It just burns that foliage and causes it to curl back. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are good questions you had as well, though. I can see that. So there you have it, Miss Stacy. We hope that helps you out. Do some further investigating, all right? How do I root a Leland cypress tree? And this is from Miss Melissa.
Oh, wow.
So, what do you think about that one, Joellen?
Well, you know, you can do that, but, you know, we don't highly recommend the Leland cypress anymore because it gets...
Ceridium canker.
And you know, they die. And I'm hoping that this person doesn't have one dying and is trying to save it, because that's not going to work. But because it goes through the system of the tree, so whatever part is still green may still have it. This hasn't infected it yet.
Yeah.
But now you can take cuttings in November and December and put them in perlite and peat and keep them moist. Try to keep the bottom warm if you can and the top a little cooler. And they may root, but they'll root better if they have like a rooting hormone, N-butyric acid, you know, on them, and you can do that. Also, if you really want to, you know, they have branches that go pretty close to the ground. You can almost bend one over and, you know, scrape it a little bit, put some rooting powder on it and bury it in the soil and keep it pinned down, and it might root that way also.
Okay, yeah.
Do a little layering.
Yeah,
Layering.
a little layering, right. A little air layering with that, okay.
But there's a lot more. We just talked about a bunch of false
Yeah, the
cypresses.
options.
There's more options out there that, you know, if this in fact has problems and is dying, and that's why they're wanting to make more of them, or if they just like them and they want more. And there's lots of other cypresses out there, the false cypresses especially. Now, the Leland is related to them, but it's a cross between that and another cypress, so it's not exactly, you know, exactly the same, so it's not going to get the same problems.
Okay. Good stuff. Anything to add to that, Celeste?
I agree. I was going to say, why bother?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
so
the whole
you
ceridium
said
canker
it much
thing.
better than I could say.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother because of ceridium canker. I just
Yeah.
wouldn't, because it's going to go down at some point. Several years ago, my mother-in-law planted peach pits and nectarine pits, and saplings came up. They've been growing in the yard for about 4 years and are 10 to 12 feet tall. This year, one of the trees bloomed. We cannot identify the fruit. Can you? Also, it also has these weird things on it. I don't know if this is insect damage, disease, or something else. How about that? Very interesting, right? So you got the peach pit, the nectarine pit, you got the saplings coming up. Now there's something on it.
Now there's something
you know,
on them.
so now we have to be able to identify it to
Yeah.
figure out what it is, what's on it.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that?
Well, the one that has the fruit that has something on it
Yes.
is very indicative of cedar apple rust. So there must be a cedar tree somewhere,
gotta be somewhere
within the
close.
range of, and the only thing that would get that would be an apple. So it's got to be an apple that has grown up.
That's what I think, because the first picture I looked at was the one that had the disease, which is the cedar apple rust. So that narrows it down pretty much to what that fruit is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apple, crab apple. What do you think, Mr. D?
I think that mother-in-law, if mother-in-law wants a peach or a nectarine, she needs to go to a nursery and buy a peach or a nectarine, because there are lots of rootstocks that peaches and plums and nectarines are grafted to. When I was working in the commercial industry, there were two primarily, Nemagard and Lovell, Nemagard and Lovell were two of the most common rootstocks. And I pulled some off the internet last night checking, and I see Nemagard, Nema Red, Lovell, Atlas, Viking, Titan, Mariana, Myrobalan 29C, Citation, St. Julian A. There's a ton of rootstocks, and if you just plant the pit, then you got a variation of that rootstock. And the rootstock is not there to produce fruit. It's there to produce a good, strong root system. That some of them are resistant to nematodes. The Nemagard and the Nema Red are resistant to root knot nematode.
Right.
And that's why you have that rootstock. So don't plant a peach tree or peach seed even an apple seed. Their apples are grafted, and that's one of those rootstocks. Is what that is right there. And cedar apple rust is a beautiful UT orange color. when that
I knew you like
goes
that.
out there like that. Yeah.
It is kind of cool to see that though, the cedar apple rust.
It is
beautiful. Can my baby maple trees be saved from this moldy leaf condition? How do I cure and prevent it? And this is from Miss Susan. So this is her baby maple tree. What do y'all think about that?
Fungus among us?
Yep, I believe it may
powdery
be.
mildew or
bit of mildew.
downy?
I think it might be powdery mildew.
Powder would be my first thought. But
So one of the fungicides, Daconil, chlorthalonil, or
Daconil could do that. Copper hydroxide, copper heptoinate could do that as well.
Yeah,
Microbutnil is how I pronounce it. I know it's butanil or butnil. But yeah, anytime you have high humidity though, it's when you have mildew.
yeah, when you think about the last few weeks, pretty good mildew conditions. Some cloudy weather.
Yeah, cloudy weather. Yep.
High humidity.
Right.
and then with a fungicide, you're not going to cure that leaf that's affected. You're simply going to hopefully stop it and prevent it from spreading to the new growth.
Yeah.
And so you won't see you won't get immediate gratification from treating with a fungicide when you already have the disease. Now, one thing you might want to consider doing, if fungicides can be preventative in nature, and if you have this problem every year, this time of the year when it's real humid, you might want to go with some preventative fungicide treatments. To prevent that from being a problem on that plant.
And Daconil's a good one for that when we think about. That's really probably a general statement that we make about almost all consumer fungicides.
Yeah.
This is not for knocking down things that are already present. It's for protecting healthy leaf tissue moving forward.
Right. So there you have it, Miss Susan. I mean, the leaf that already has the mildew, is not much you're going to be able to do with that. Again, these fungicides are preventative in nature. All right. Thanks for the question. There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. We really like getting questions both by mail and email from you. This week we're catching up, showing you the questions we did not get to air because of time. We continue with a question about eradicating morning glory. Morning glory has taken over my flower bed. I was hoping to have this ready for bulbs this fall, but right now I'm not so sure. I have sprayed and pulled only to have it come back thicker. How do I get rid of it once and for all? Thank you, and this is Miss Claudia from East Memphis. She wants to get rid of it once and for all. Can we help her out? But here's the thing, though. She did say she sprayed it, but we don't know what she sprayed.
What she used, right. And when she did it.
Right, and when she did it.
Exactly.
Right.
So I would say, my first suggestion would be, don't let what's there now flower. Because if it flowers, then it can go to seed.
And it produces a lot of seeds.
And when those seeds get into the soil, then you're just building up that weedy seed bank. And even if she did spray and kill the existing vegetation that was there, maybe she did that a month or so ago, it makes sense that more sprouted back up. If it had ever been allowed to go to seed. So I would say for sure don't let it beat you. Don't give up. And just go ahead and I would just spray it with a glyphosate, product, non-selective. It's not residual in the soil, so she would probably be successful at killing what's there. She'd go ahead and prepare the ground for her bulbs, get them planted this fall. If she has any more morning glory weed seed germinate between now and then, again, it's safe she could just go ahead and spray it again with Roundup over the top, even after her bulbs are planted, because it's not residual in the soil and the bulbs are dormant. They're not actively growing, so they're not going to take that up.
Good points. I'm glad you mentioned those. Those are real good points.
That would be my suggestion.
That's what I would do as well. Morning Glory, extensive root system, as we well know, produces a lot of seeds. You have to be persistent.
Yeah, and they sure are pretty though, and
pretty flower.
And they sell the little seed packets like on purpose for people to plant their seed in their flower gardens. But little do they know, you know, that it can be invasive. So it
can be very invasive. So I hope that helps you out, Miss Claudia, once and for all, right?
Once and for all.
You have to be persistent, though. I mean, it's going to take multiple applications for the most part. About 9 years ago, my husband planted bamboo. Can you tell me how to get rid of it? The old bamboo question. So how do y'all think she should get rid of that bamboo?
It's going to be a long battle.
Oh, man,
I'm just going to say that up front.
Yeah.
Dig it up.
Dig it up as much as you can. I mean, there, you know, it might be impossible to get all of it, but that's going to help you go a long way.
Right.
Digging up what you can. They're usually, the root masses are not much deeper than a foot. So, I mean, if, I don't know how big of an area it is, if that's something she could get in there and maybe employ her husband to help her get it out, since he's the one who installed it. But if it's a large area, you know, you might need a backhoe or small equipment or something like that. But after that, regular, constant, low mowing for like 2 years. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying you're gonna mow it 3 times and it's gonna be gone. This is something you're gonna have to stay on top of for those new shoots that sprout back up from the roots that were left behind.
You got to get rid of the carbohydrate reserves that are in the ground, in the roots.
Right, because that's pumping it up.
Between mowing, and spraying it with maybe some glyphosate or something like that.
I think the best way to attempt doing that, if you're planning on using glyphosate, is to cut it low and let it re-sprout so that you spray that tender new growth instead of that woody cane.
And that's going to be the key, because I actually have experience doing this. So we actually cut it down, we let it regrow, and then once those new leaves start to come out, that new tender growth, then we hit it with glyphosate. But it's going to be multiple applications.
Right.
Multiple applications.
So it can still take a year or two.
It can still take a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this is from experience, so yes, a couple of years.
Definitely.
Got to get rid of the carbohydrate reserves that are waiting in the ground to save that plant.
What do you need to do to overwinter raspberry bushes? And this is from Mr. Jerry. So, look at the face though, Karen. See, look at the face. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, raspberries are, you know, tend to grow north of us, you know, and I mean, there's only a couple of varieties that'll grow, you know, way down south.
Yeah, I didn't think of that many that can grow here.
And I don't know that you really need to do anything. I wouldn't mulch them because you want bare ground to be under them. Bare ground will give up ground heat better than ground that's been mulched or grass that's really covered. You know, you may want to you don't want a real thick weeds and things like that underneath it. You may want to get that as clean as you can. You know, it's not the time of the year to prune raspberries, but if you have any dead canes or damaged canes, you know, you can go ahead and do some select pruning, and then make sure that you have anything, you know, any of the dead limbs or anything, get them out of the way, and because they can, you can spread disease by leaving those underneath the plant. But, you know, not a lot to do. They're pretty trouble-free, and, you know, they're kind of a, you know, neat plant. You don't have to do a lot.
I'm wondering if he's thinking that maybe he needs to cover them, though. What do you think?
I wouldn't think so. I've never known of anybody that covered brambles.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think I don't think it's necessary.
So
you don't.
Okay, so you think, for the most part, it'd be okay? Just, I mean, make sure it doesn't have the thick stand of weeds and grass.
And you're
mulch.
And if you have dieback at the end of after frost, you know, the last frost, you know, go in and prune out what you killed, and you've got a good healthy root system, and it's going to put out new growth, and, you know, it's going to be fine.
All right, so there you have it, Mr. Jerry. Hopefully it'll be fine for you. I purchased these plants at Spring Fling. They are tagged dwarf sunflower, but are not dwarf. What are they, and will they flower this year? And this is from Richard. So if you look at the picture there, they're definitely not dwarf. I mean, those things are pretty tall.
And Kathleen, they're not sunflowers either.
They're actually sunflowers.
Are they a sunflower? They're not a sunflower like I've ever seen.
They're sunflower, Maximilian sunflower. They have the long leaves, thin leaves.
Okay, I've never seen that. I've never heard of a sunflower.
Go anywhere from what, 3 to 10 feet in height.
Give
them space. Yeah, that's not a dwarf. Give them space because they're going to spread out pretty good, right?
So there's a lot of difference between 3 and 10 feet.
Yeah. And a lot of that depends on, of course, soil type.
Okay.
Right? So if you have a good soil type, they like
so, I mean, I would consider 3 foot a dwarf.
That's yeah. 10 foot's not.
10 foot, but those are pretty tall.
Yeah.
You know, that's not dwarf.
So that is a sunflower.
Maximilian.
Does it got the big?
Has a beautiful yellow bloom. Okay, and actually blooms this time of the year. So it's late summer, early fall. That's when it blooms.
Okay. Watch for your honeybees. They'll be on there.
Watch for the honeybees. And some of your birds, I'm sure, will be on those as well.
Yeah. Oh, man, you had me stumped on that one.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, look at the long leaves.
I thought it. I think it's pretty tall. I was about to call it a marriage tail, a weed.
He's gonna call it a marriage tail.
Because they'll get that tall, and you know, that's kind of what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it's actually named after Prince Maximilian. He actually came to this country from Germany, did some exploring, and happened to come across the sunflower. So it's actually named after him.
Pretty neat.
So it's pretty neat. But yeah, it is a sunflower, any soil type. It's a perennial, so you have to give it a couple of years.
Okay.
You know, for it to bloom.
It's a perennial sunflower.
It's a perennial.
No, I haven't seen that.
Again, is it like in the same genus as
Helianthus?
Is that
which is sunflower.
Okay. Because regular sunflowers, are they perennials?
Regular, some are not.
Okay, because I know what we plant out in the field. I think they're annuals.
Yes, especially ones at the Agri Center.
Yeah, they're annuals.
Right, they're annuals. Right, but these perennials.
We need to tell Bruce about that out at Agri Center, so we won't have to plant sunflowers.
There you go. You get him on board, right?
Sunflower, yeah.
He might like that.
He might like that. So there you have it, Mr. Richard. We have 2 mop heads growing behind our house. Our problem is they cover our den window to the point we can only see the sky and tops of trees. We do not see their flowers. What can we do to keep them from growing this tall next season? When is the best way and time to cut mop heads back? We like them, but they just take over that area. And this is from Miss Mary. So what do you think about that, Joellen?
Well, mop heads, again, we've got common names. And so there's 2 different kinds of ways that hydrangeas grow.
Okay.
One of them is they grow on the previous season's growth, and one of them is they grow on the current season's growth. But mop heads, and not knowing exactly which one that is, that we think it might be a macrophylla,
Right.
then that would be one that blooms on the previous season's growth. So if you cut it now, you're going to be cutting off blooms. But that's okay if you want to try to, you know, if you don't want blooms this next year and you want to cut it down, you can. But it's best to prune those right after they finish blooming. And then you've got, you know, you can prune part of them and leave some of them tall so they'll bloom, or you can, you know, you could move it. I mean, it might be a nice plant and do well there, but there are a lot of new varieties that are shorter than that bloom continually all summer long that would work in that area too. So maybe it just needs to be put somewhere else. Sure. But you can keep it under control, but you need to prune it right after it finishes blooming.
Right.
Unless you're tired of it right now and you want to, you know, get it so you can see out your window, but just remember you're sacrificing some of the blooms.
For next season, right. Celeste, anything to add to that?
That's exactly what I would have said. I wouldn't be afraid to lose some of the blooms, and I wouldn't personally chop it off at the ground. I would, you know, remove about 1/3 of the oldest stems all the way to the ground, then take the next 1/3 of the next stems that are left and take them about halfway down, and then take what's left and remove about 1/3 of it. So you are going to get some size reduction now, and you will lose some blooms for next year, but you will still have some bloom on that last third, you know, that you only removed a few inches of the tips. So you're, over a course of doing this 2 or 3 years in a row, you're gonna get size reduction if you follow, you know, that method. sounds like they're happy there because they're growing so well.
Obviously so. I mean, they're tall as the window. I mean, they must be going very well.
So
Good
I think
conditions.
if they can just get on that regular, you know, size reduction pruning, then I think they would probably be fine with leaving them there if they're happy with them.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today, and we still did not get to air all the viewer questions we have answered. We may not get to air them, but they are posted every week on our website, familyplotgarden.com. We also have more information on everything we talked about this week. Thanks for watching, and keep sending questions. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.